Lord Royce and King Gendry prepare for battle. The battle drums of both sides starts thumping. The Vale army have infantry first deployed, then the archers, pikemen and cavalry. The mistake of facing the superior Dornishman spearmen is not something the Knights of the Vale want to face. The Baratheon host have a similar formation. To the one side flew the Baratheon banner with the crown upon the stag. In the opposite side flew 3 banners of House Arryn, Stark and Tully. Lord Royce knew that in order to have any chance, his army needed to rely on determination, discipline and strategy, while the Baratheon battle plan relied on the big numbers of their army and the renowned strength of the Dornish spearmen. Soon the only sound to be heard is the flapping of banners, and the clanging of spears and shields. The armies swept through the field, heading straight toward each other, once and for all to decimate their enemies. Tension mounted. King Gendry wants to send a clear message that he is the undisputed king, and the Knights of the Vale have to win this battle, or all will be lost. While Gendry was riding from right wing to left wing urging his men to fight, the Vale men in arms drove back relentless Dornish spearmen as best they could with the continuous volley of arrows. The Valemen was so surrounded by the Baratheon forces that they see nothing but the sky and the enemy. The archers walked backward while the Vale men hold back the enemy forces. Lord Yohn Royce edged his men forward, and the vanguard charged, with their swords held high. The effectiveness of Lord Royce's men caused King Gendry to send all his reserves to pressure the Vale men. Lord Yohn Royce hoped to force King Gendry to fully commit his army to close quarter fighting, so that the Knights of the Vale can launch a decisive charge that would shatter the Baratheon ranks. Soon Lord Yohn Royce's men found themselves surrounded again. However, they fought fiercely, refusing to back down even as their numbers dwindled. The fighting have been going for a whole day now. Both armies is tired, and have lost around 10,000 men each. It was at this moment the war horn of Lord Robin Arryn sounded in the field and finally gave charge to 15,000 fresh soldiers. The Knights of the Vale took their lances and gave a shout as one man. The infantry opened gaps for them and they charged along their whole line. The Prince of Dorne gets injured by an arrow and his men thought he had died, as the Knights of the Vale charged towards their enemy's center, with the false news of the Prince of Dorne's death. The tired Dornish army began to falter. Gendry's right wing began to retreat, leaving their center exposed. King Gendry tried to join the center since it was near to him, but it had broken utterly, so he tries to join the left wing, but they have fled more than all the rest. The king fall back to the drummers to keep beating them, in hope to rally his men. He tries to encourage the men to stand and fight, but his army, already weakened from the battle, were unable to withstand the onslaught. King Gendry Baratheon's coalition is in a complete rout. The Knights of the Vale charged in a total 4 different waves. The Baratheons suffered serious casualties. The Vale infantry moved up behind the cavalry, finishing off fleeing or wounded enemy troops. Lord Robin Arryn personally took part in the fighting, charging at the forefront of his cavalry. Lord Arryn pursued the Baratheons, followed by Lord Royce. He fell upon them, and one by one, they fell, until the only ones left standing were a few scattered survivors, surrounded by Vale soldiers with swords drawn. Lord Eldon Estamont rallied some of the Baratheon Dornish cavalry in an attempt to reverse the situation, but when Lord Arryn led his final charge he devastated Lord Estamont's cavalry. The Knights of the Vale won a devastating victory. King Gendry retreated with his bodyguard to King's Landing, where the survivors of his army rallied. Meanwhile the victor Vale men occupied Duskendale. Gendry took horrible casualties. Half his army is slain, however his army wasn't fully destroyed and he was able to rally the survivors, which numbered around half his forces right after they lost 10,000 men. After the battle King Gendry Baratheon refused to eat or speak much to anyone.